loud. That's all I was trying for. Okay, it's too loud. Hey, well, welcome to Two42. Usually there's a video that we play, but to be honest with you, I didn't find the video to play, and I was like, there's nothing that matches, and I didn't just want to throw anything on the screen. Is you deserve better than that. Right? So I figured, like, hey, if I don't got nothing, I'm not going to play anything. So there's that. So, no, but I do thank you guys so much. I really do hope that you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I want to just kind of just dive right into the message. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah? We've been in this series called Uncivilized. And basically the idea of this series is to understand one concept. That you, as a Christ follower, are not normal. And in this world, you will literally be uncivilized to everybody else. And the problem becomes, if you are not uncivilized to everybody else, then you have to ask yourself, am I following what Christ is asking me to follow? And so the series is designed to really get us to think through like how we live our lives. And so we have been in this whole thing talking about uncivilized. And so before I move forward, like I said, I'm going to do this every week for the series, is we want to explain what uncivilized is. This is what it means. Uncivilized is a place or a person not considered to be socially, culturally, or morally accepted. We'll go one more time. Socially, culturally, or morally accepted. And guess what? If you think about Christianity, you think about Jesus Christ, this is truly who he was. He was very uncivilized. And if we think about Christianity, there's a lot of weird things that happen in Christianity that is, by worldly standards, uncivilized. And before we move forward in that, I want to make sure that we also recognize this. Being uncivilized does not mean being rebellious. Okay? There's this. There's a difference between rebellion and being uncivilized. Rebellion is being openly defiant against authority or any establishment for purely selfish gain or motive. Being uncivilized is a way of living a society or culture may not understand or want. There's two different sides to that, okay? Rebellion is, I'm defiant because I want to be, and then basically uncivilized is, this is the way of life, whether you like it or not, this is just kind of who I am. Does that make sense? Yes? Oh, we would? Yeah, we're all on the same page. Just making sure we're on the same page before we move forward. All right. With that said, we look at a couple different things. The first thing that we ask is, one of the things is being uncivilized. The second thing we ask is this. Do you believe in God, or are you convicted by God? I don't know if you guys remember that or even heard that message, but as we're moving forward in this series, you can't be uncivilized if you're not absolutely convicted by who Jesus Christ is. You can't actually go in and live a lifestyle on just pure belief, because believing means that there is no proof or there is no facts. So you can believe in a lot of things, like you can believe in magic, right? But if you all know that magicians, when you go to Las Vegas or wherever you see a magician, you know that you're not actually seeing magic. You are seeing a trick. But you can believe in magic all you want. You have no proof for it. If you believe in Jesus, what you're saying is, I have no proof that Jesus Christ exists. I have no proof of any of that. I just want to believe in Jesus. And that is not okay. Conviction means that there are facts. There are things. There's legitimate testimony. There are things that happen. To be convicted by something is a lot different than just believing. And we need to be convicted of who Jesus Christ is. We need to be convicted by of his divine nature. We need to be convicted of who he is. Because if you live your life just believing with no facts, you're going to be like James says, where you're tossed like a wave on the sea. Okay? And you don't want to be tossed. You want to have a conviction that becomes solid, something you can stand on. Yeah? Yeah, just make sure you're living. So there's this conviction that we need. The next thing is basically what we talked about last week when we were talking about uncivilized. In order to be uncivilized, we got to this thing, you have to want to do something. If you guys remember, I put the thing, it's the want to versus the how to. So many times as Christians, we push the how to. You know, how to accept Jesus, how to do this, how to be a nice person, how to serve, how. But the problem is you can do all those things, but if you actually don't want to do any of them, then they just become, it just becomes an action without anything behind it. And then you go back into James, if you will, and it says that you know the scriptures, but you don't live them out. And then you go like this, it's faith in deeds. I don't know if you guys have ever read that, but it says, you know, if I have faith, I show you my faith by my deeds. But if you have deeds but no faith, then your deeds are dead. And if you have faith, if you don't do actions, it says your faith is dead. There has to be a connection. The want to drives the how to. And so many times in Christianity today, we're so busy driving the how to that we never stop and ask people, do you actually want to? You know, it's like, and a good example of this is church. We so force everybody to want to go to church. And we are doing this like we've been asked as the church. Like, invite people to Christmas Eve services. Invite them. Do it. And that's the how to. And you can go give them a flyer. You can do that. You can actually go put a flyer on their door or like on their mailbox. Not in their mailbox. That's a federal offense. But you want to make but you want to make sure that like you put the flyer out there, right? You put the flyer out there, and you're like, okay, and you cross your fingers that hopefully they get it and they don't just throw it in the trash and they'll read it and God will do something. Well, that's the how to. But really, the want to is you have to get them to want to come to church first. And the only way you can do that is by having a conversation, by sitting down with them, talking with them about God, life, church, giving them your story, your testimony, explaining why you are convicted by Christ. And then, then all of a sudden they're like, now I have the want to, and then it's easy to give them the how. But we got to get people to the want to first. And sometimes that's uncivilized. It looks different. And then we get to today. I want to talk about a completely uncivilized moment. Matter of fact, I'm going to talk about 3 of them. Before I get into it, I want to preach it more than I want to teach it, okay? And the reason why is because there's not a lot of theology behind it. There's not a lot of, cultural relevance. There's just, it is what it is. And when I start sharing the accounts, you're gonna understand it, you're gonna know it. But the reality is I want to get the theology out of the way. You're going to find this account, it happens 4 times. 4 times. You have it in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Okay? And this account that happens, you might think is actually the exact same account. But in theology, we believe that it is actually 3 separate accounts. And the reason why it's 3 separate accounts is because one happens 2 years prior to another one. One happens before what we call the triumphal entry at a different house and a different place than the other 2. So, let me walk it through you real quick. First, you have the account in Luke, which we're going to read together. But the account in Luke happens at the beginning of Jesus' ministry. Names are not mentioned. It's just this account that takes place. The second one that we see is in John. John gives this account of this woman, and we know her name, we know where she's at, and we know why she's doing what she's doing. The third account actually happens in Matthew and Mark. And it's the actual same exact account, they're just sharing the exact same account. But the difference is, one has to do with head, right? The Matthew and Mark have to do with anointing the head, and the John and the Luke one have to do with anointing the feet. Okay? So they are definitely, oh, by the way, and the Matthew and Mark one are actually a different house altogether. Okay? Now, theology-wise, everybody wants to try to make 3 of them fit into one, and they're trying to do these things, but they're all leaps and bounds. If we take it for at face value what it is, there are 3 different accounts that Jesus gets anointed. Sound good? Got that out of the way? Yes? That's your theology. Good. Now let's bring what actually happened. I want to go to John chapter 12. I want to read this account of what happened. And this is what it is. It says this. 6 days before the Passover, this is pretty much before Jesus is going to be crucified. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here, a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Setting at the scene, Lazarus is the brother to Martha and Mary. Everybody got it? Martha and Mary, they're mad at Jesus a couple days prior because their brother died. And Jesus did nothing to save them, or him. So they're mad at him. And like each time, if you read the account, Martha comes up and Jesus is like, why are you crying? He's like, because my brother died, you could have done something, and you didn't do anything, so I don't like you. Right? And then Mary comes up, and Jesus is like, why are you crying? And she's like, because my brother died, and you could have done something about it, and you didn't do anything about it, but I'll still trust you. And he's like, oh, you're good. And you're like, what? They said the exact same thing. Except for one little part at the end. Right? And so they have this thing, and she's like, he looks at both these women and he says, hey, you need to understand this. He's not dead. And he goes to the tomb. And they're like, don't open the tomb, it's going to smell. They roll back the rock, and he yells into the tomb, Lazarus, get out here. And the dude walks out like a mummy, okay? Like that's where you got to get in your head. Like he's wrapped in burial cloths, and he starts walking out of the tomb, and they're like, I was freaked out. I'm not going to lie. That would be really scary. I was like, what's happening? Right? And he pulls off his burial shrouds, his clothes, and he's sitting there, and Lazarus is alive. And then a few days later, we're going to have dinner together. This is the dinner that we're having together. Everybody tracking the story now, right? So this is the account. And then it says this. So another account again, notice it doesn't say what house they're at. But we can kind of get an understanding of the house they're at because Martha is serving. Now, she could have went to another house and served. This is a fact. It could have happened. But more than likely, when you are invited to somebody else's house, you usually don't cook at their house and you serve. So the reason why it says Martha served is because it's getting to this idea that Martha's, this was kind of like this is her place. Let's just be real, you guys, this is Thanksgiving, and you know, if it's their house and they're cooking Thanksgiving dinner, you stay out of the kitchen. Y'all know, right? Thank you. I did learn this lesson when I was younger, okay? I got hit with a knife from my grandpa. He slapped me with a knife because I was in his kitchen while he was carving the turkey, and it's carving for life. I know, right? Oh, I can say it for my mom. All right, but the reality is, it's your kitchen. It says Martha serving. It's more than likely, it might be pretty much her place. Everybody's tracking. But if you just rose from the dead, are you going to somebody else's house? I'm just throwing that in there too. I'm just thinking maybe you want to stay home for a while, okay? This is how I think, and I'm just sharing it with you, okay? So they're sitting among the same, okay? Then verse 3 says, then Mary, the sister to Martha, the sister to Lazarus, then Mary took a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. How uncivilized. Could you imagine at a dinner table? Remember, we talked about it last week, as Jesus washing people's feet. Remember, they're reclining at a table. They're on the ground. The feet are everywhere. And Mary comes in, looks down, sees Jesus' feet, and her one thought is, I'm going to pour oil on that. She pours oil, doesn't even get a towel, grabs her own hair, and starts wiping his feet with her hair. Now, it goes on. It says, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But one of his disciples, I love how John throws Judas under a bus, okay? But one of the disciples, Judas of Israel, who was later to betray him, objected. Why isn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. Now listen, that's expensive. Like, if you think about it, take a year's worth of your wages, whatever that is, and be like, yeah, that's going in 1 pound of perfume. Some of you guys are like, that's not happening. that is just a waste. You are thinking like Judas. Are we not that true? But that's just not happening. There is no way. And you're like, this got hurt. But it is. It's the truth. truth, right? Like we're thinking like Judas, because Judas did the same thing. He's like, what is the matter with you, woman? We could have told us that. Now, obviously, we know Judas is a thief, okay? We know Judas is a backstabber. And so it goes on to say, it says, this one thing he was lazy. He did not say it's because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief, as the keeper of the money bag. He used to help himself to what was put into it. And then Jesus, leave her alone, Jesus replied. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. I stop and I think about that. That one phrase right there. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. I disagree with Jesus. Here's why. I know he said that, but I don't think Mary was thinking that. I don't think Mary was sitting there going, I have this expensive perfume and I'm going to anoint Jesus' body with it now before he dies. I don't think she was thinking that. Now, Jesus is obviously trying to make a statement about what is about to happen in 6 days. Jesus is trying to make a statement about what it's going to be like in the future. I get what Jesus is trying to do. But when I get into these accounts, I want to think like Mary. What was Mary thinking? Why in the world would she take a year's wages and throw it at Jesus' feet? Why would she do that? And then I started to think, what happened a few days earlier? A few days earlier, I was so distraught. My brother died. Things are getting worse around the house. Martha's upset. Family's coming in. Passover is just around the corner. There are so many people happening. I don't need to deal with the funeral right now. I don't need to go through all the rituals that's going on right now. And then all of a sudden, Jesus shows up out of nowhere and then tells me what? That he's not dead? Talk about the range of emotions. Could you imagine somebody being dead for a few days? A few days, maybe even a week, and all of a sudden, they're not dead? You have two things. One, you're mad, because how dare you make me go through this? And two, you're excited, because you're back. Could you imagine? And I really wish, my heart is that you would get this, because the emotions that you would have if somebody that you cared about died, but then wasn't really dead. The emotions that you go through. And then it's this realization. This man isn't just a good teacher. There is something special about him. Could it be that he is who he says he is? Could he actually be the Messiah? Now, some of you guys, you think when you read the scriptures, you think with hindsight, which means you think already knowing the end result. We already know who Jesus is. She does not know Jesus the way that we know Jesus. She knows him as a rabbi. She knows him as a teacher. She knows him as all these different things. But at the end of the day, she doesn't know him as Lord and Savior just yet because we haven't read it. And yet she came. And she's like, I've got to give something to Jesus. You raised my brother from the dead. You reunited my family. I need to give you an offering. And the only thing I have, my whole life, is here in this book. It's it. A year's wages right here. I'm going to pour it on your feet. I get the whole feet washing thing with the perfume. That makes sense now, right? Come on. How much would you pay to have somebody raise from the dead? Like you were thinking about it, right? The Catholics actually did have a price on it, okay? But we're not going to go there. Joe, calm down, everybody, all right? But the reality is, okay, how much was it? For her, she saw something incredible. And the most expensive thing that she had, she poured it on. Everybody in the room thought, what a waste. What a waste. A whole year's wages, a whole year of you working super hard, just wasted on somebody's feet. And then I got to this thing. What's up with the hair? Like, let's be real, right? I spent a lot of time researching Jewish hair. Don't do that. There's a lot of weird things on the internet. And a lot of times when you research the Jewish hair, the idea, it's going to come to head coverings. It's going to come to all these things. And I was sitting there and I'm like super frustrated because I'm like, there's nothing culturally relevant about hair like in this thing. Like, why wash your hair? I don't understand. It's like, was there not a towel? I don't understand what is happening until I got to 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 15. And it says something very unique and very interesting. It talks about head covering. It talks about the woman and how if she shaved her head she would be undignified. She's not allowed to cut her hair. She gets it because her hair, I love this, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 15. Her hair is a woman's glory. That's what it says in Scripture. A woman's hair is her glory. And if you are ever wondering why salons are so popular with women, it's biblical, y'all. All right? Like, get into it. Like, you got to understand this, okay? It says that her hair is her glory. So not only did she give everything that she had and pour it on his feet, she used her glory. What is she saying? I'm nothing compared to who you are. I literally can only wipe my feet with my glory to who you are. But that makes it a lot better, doesn't it? Like, that's like, whoa! Wow! See, a guy couldn't do that. He'd be awkward. Jesus, what are you doing? I'm anointing you. Alright, this is just awkward. Stop. You need to stop. Right? Like, you get it? But she grabbed her hair and she's basically saying, this is all I am and all I have. This is who I am. And I lay it. I literally wipe my feet with it. Which if you go back to John the Baptist, he literally says, I am unfit to even tie his sandals. There's a lot of Jesus feet going on. Are you guys getting this? Because what do they say? We are unworthy. And if I have any glory, I'm giving it to you. And I can understand where Mary is coming from. All those emotions, everything that she got to witness, the things that she saw Jesus do, the things that she heard him preach, to see her own brother raised from the dead. She didn't even get to see the triumphal entry yet. She hasn't even seen the cross and resurrection yet, but she will be the first to see it. She didn't, like, I get where Mary's coming from. You know who I don't get? The woman in Luke. Because this is a whole separate account that we're going to find. And in Luke, I want to read it to you guys so you can start to see something completely different. In Luke, chapter 7, 36 and 50, it says this. When one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined at the table. A woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. 10, 7. They're hanging out. Now, this is right after Jesus raises a kid from the dead and all this kind of stuff. The wiping of the feet has to do with the dead raising, just so you guys know, okay? So, this little kid, he's somewhere in Capernaum, in that Galilee area. He's up away from Jerusalem. You guys see how it's two different settings, two different places? He's up away from Jerusalem. He's a ways away. He's up somewhere here. Now, we don't know the exact town, but we know this. He's at a Pharisee's house. And the Pharisee's name is Simon, and we'll get to that, okay? So he came there, and so this woman, by the way, it's just sinful. Don't put in there that she was, some type of prostitute or blah, blah, blah. We don't know that. There's a lot of people that read into that and they're like, oh, it said it's a sinful woman, so automatically she becomes a prostitute. That's not fair. Does that make sense? There's a lot of ways to be sinful, especially in this day and age. Okay? In ancient times. And that's obviously how it is too. But But the reality is, back then, okay, there was a lot of ways. If you broke the Mosaic law in any way, shape, or form with a woman because of having babies and that time of the month, she was automatically unclean once a month and could not follow the Mosaic law fully. That's not cool. Does that make sense? Like so there's these things that women had to do, and so therefore she's a sinful person. I just want to make sure that we're clear. Don't go reading into it that she was some type of prostitute that she could have been. But don't go there. Okay? Because let's just be real. Because you're sitting here today, could somebody say this about you if they were at this story? Oh, there was this sinful person. And they're like, oh man, they must have been prostitute. That doesn't, in your head, that's like, what? No, I wasn't that. No, I lied a lot. That's sorry. But again, give or take. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that because I don't want to throw this woman under a bus because of what she does and how unique she is. I want to make sure that we kind of just, give honor in some places. So it says this, she lived a simple life, learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house, and she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. Verse 38, as she stood behind him at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. I gotta get this image in your head. Jesus is reclining at a table because he's kind of letting down. In the Roman era, which is where they're kind of at this point in time, there were these small little couches. And more than likely at a Pharisee's house up in the Galilee area, he's probably reclining on the couch. And now it says the woman came up behind. This is super weird, but I want to get you. If I'm laying on the couch, right, and a woman comes up from behind the couch down by my feet, she could be down by my feet but still behind me. Does that make sense? Or flip it however you want to see it. And she's weeping. And she's crying so much that her tears are falling on Jesus' feet. And she doesn't have anything next to her. She grabs her hair and starts to wipe his feet with her tears. She wipes his feet with her tears first. Then she pours the perfume all over him. Now, the scene is set. Verse 39. When the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of a woman she is, that she is a sinner. Ooh. This man obviously doesn't like this woman, but he allowed her into his house. Just throwing that out there. Verse 40. Jesus answered him, Simon, I have something to tell you. Tell me, teacher, he said. Verse 41. Two people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii and the other 50. Neither of them had money to pay him back. So he forgave the debts of both. Now, which of them will love him more? I love Jesus and the simplicity of things. And some of you guys are reading that right now and be like, oh, I can't think it's true in my life right now, right? Cars, house is done. Forgive it. Debt's gone, right? All debt gone. So there's 500 denarii. If 500 denarii and this other person has 50 denarii, we can do math, right? One's way greater than the other one. But when the guy saw that they didn't have money to pay, he just forgave both of them. And Jesus asked the question, which one loves more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who has the bigger debt forgiven. You have judged correctly, Jesus said. Then he turned toward the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman from the time I entered has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore, I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. But whoever has been forgiven little loves little. Then Jesus said here, your sins are forgiven. The other guests began to say among themselves, who is this who even forgives sins? Jesus said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. And now I look at the differences between Mary. Mary obviously had a full-on reason. There were these actions that Jesus did. She saw these amazing things, and her actions kind of connected with what she did with Jesus' feet. I get that. This woman, this unnamed woman, hears about Jesus. Maybe even heard his teachings. And 2 years prior to the crucifixion, 2 years prior to Mary, 2 years prior to anything going on, before like the greatness of his ministry starts to take place, 2 years prior to that, she recognizes who he is. He's a man that does not judge. He's a man that will love me even if I sin. This man is greater than any other man that I could think of right now. And she sits back and she says, I have to do something. And when she stands next to Jesus' feet, she can do nothing but weep. I wonder if this woman wanted to say something. I wonder if she was standing there trying to muster up the words to say to such an amazing man. Maybe she recognized that he was the Lord way prior to anybody else. And maybe standing in front of him, she couldn't muster up what needed to be said. And she just sat there and wept and wept and wept. And she said, the only thing I could do is wipe your feet. And maybe the perfume, maybe it was all she had. Because if everybody in the town knows that she's a sinner, if everybody in the town knows who she is, then the reality becomes she probably doesn't get a lot of work. She probably has a hard time. She's probably not married. She probably has all these troubles. And she has this alabaster jar of perfume, which we know is super expensive. And instead of like spending it on herself, she can do nothing more but to be super uncivilized and wash Jesus' feet as a thank you. We don't know if Jesus had any interaction with this woman prior to that. All we know is the reaction that she had with Jesus. And I get to this, and I share these moments today for this one reason. What is your reaction? What is your reaction? Are you like Mary? Where you have to see some things happen in your life, and when you start to see those things, then you start to get all like Jesus-y. I don't know if that's the word that's very much. You know what I mean, though, right? And you get like, well, God starts to do good things in your life, and therefore you love God, and you want to show how grateful you are. But the reality is as soon as that stuff goes away, then you go back to being you. The real you. The you that is not convicted yet, but just believes. See, I believe, and I have no proof, that's why I said I believe, that Mary didn't fully understand who Jesus was yet. But she wanted to give him a thank you. And this is the best way that she could. But then on the other hand, you have this unnamed woman. Her family wasn't raised from the dead. She didn't get any great cool gifts. She didn't get any of that. She just recognized that this man was something special. This man was so unique because he didn't judge her. He forgave her. And because of that, she didn't know what to do. But she took her own glory. She took all that she had and gave. And this is why I ask the question to you today. How do you see him? Which are you like? Because if we're going to be super honest, this is actually really an offering message. Let's just be real. If we're completely honest in this place right now, we recognize this. When things are going really good, you give better. True? I mean, let's be real. It's the truth. Because you feel like giving. You know why I'm giving this message today? Because it's December 1st and we're going to give. We're going to get into the giving season. Right? No, I'm not talking about money. It can be presents. It can be whatever. But you're giving. Why? Because it is the season to give. Can you imagine walking to somebody's house on like March 3rd? A random date, and you're just like, you just bring in a bunch of presents and you set them down. Bring in a random tree if you want to. It doesn't even have to be a pine tree. And you're like, I just want to give gifts today because you're all so awesome. Give your family and be like, what are you? You're weird. And you know what they're going to do? We can't accept these. You know why? Because I don't have anything to give back to you. What can you really give to God that's wrong? What are you really going to give to God that He hasn't already given to you? And so today, the reason I bring all this up is because I want us to be giving for the right reason. This Christmas season, and you go to start buying gifts, and you go to start doing these things, let's have a heart-to-heart with ourselves and really ask the question, why do I give? What's the point? Or maybe you just like to receive. And if you receive, then you're going to give a gift because you received something and you're so different you're going to give it back. You guys remember this one? We got a bunch of stuff. I just had this innate need to have to give it back. When you have this unmade, you didn't get anything else. You just had that need to give more. And so today, I don't have answers for you. I just have these two things. I want us to really think and dig deep into our hearts. Who is Jesus? Do you love Him just for who He is? Or are we still trying to love Jesus for how He gives to us? Because if we're honest, He's going to give the ultimate sacrifice. Mary didn't know, but 6 days later, Jesus would give His life for her. The perfume was nice. The washing of the feet was good. The reality is, I'm going to give my life to you. And I'm going to raise you again so you don't ever have to die. Can't beat that gift. There's not an amount of oil that will ever work to get back to that. And just like that in them. Just overwhelmed by who He is. Can't speak, can't talk. She was weak. I didn't even say that she was weak because she was sad. Let's just throw that out there too. She might have been overjoyed to be in His presence. It just says she's right. Now when we connect sinner with weeping, you think she's crying over her sin. But Jesus says, oh no, she's forgiven. So maybe she's actually not weeping over her sin. She's weeping over the joy that she has because she was forgiven by this amazing gift. Amen? I think he's reading this to death. The last thing I want you to read is you go to Matthew.
Savior's love through the storm. He is Lord, He is Lord of all. Trumpet sound. Oh, may I then in Him be found, dressed in His righteousness alone, faultless stand before the throne, faultless stand before in the Savior's love through the storm. He is Lord, He is Lord of all. Surrounding me, let it rain at your name. Still, call the sea to still, rage in me to still every wave at your name. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus.